So I'm excited to host Franchesca Ramsey, who will be in conversation with Damon Young. So Damon Young is the editor-in-chief of VerySmartBrothers.com and a professional Black person. He is a columnist for GQ and is currently working on an essay collection called "What Doesn't Kill You Will Make You Blacker," and it is expected to be released in March 2019. And he will be talking to Franchesca Ramsey, also known as Jessica Lee, who is super popular across the internet. Her rise to internet fame started in 2012 when her YouTube video, Shit White Girls Say to Black Girls, went viral, which led to appearances on MSNBC, ABC, and even became the topic of a 20-page dissertation. This led to many opportunities for her. So she is now the host of MTV's Decoded and a former writer and contributor for The Nightly Show with Larry Wilmore. And tonight we are here to celebrate her first book, well, that escalated quickly, Memoirs and Mistakes of an Accidental Activist. Please give our guest a round of applause.
Hey. I am always so impressed by how good looking my audience is. Y'all became red. This is
Good
wonderful.
evening. Thank you, Politics and Prose again. Let's give them a hand. For bringing me back here. I guess I didn't embarrass myself the first time I was here doing a book talk. So how are we doing today?
I'm doing good. I feel like you and I have had a day together.
So earlier today we did the stream, which is Al Jazeera's one of Al Jazeera's shows, and the topic was white people calling the cops on black people for just living while black, walking while black, sleeping while black,
a difficult topic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad that we were able to do that together and now hang out and talk about this book.
Yeah, now we're back together. Wow. Okay. So your book.
It's here. It's
right. It's a thing. It exists.
Yeah.
And it exists in the world right now. How does that feel?
It feels super exciting, but also nerve-wracking and overwhelming. If you follow me on Instagram, you know I was up at 2 o'clock in the morning the night before, stressing. And thank goodness for my husband, because I cried many a tear thinking about releasing this into the world. And I think for creatives, no matter what field you're in, when you put your heart into something, it feels kind of scary to share it with people, especially because I know from firsthand experience the internet can be very, very cruel. And I have at times been a little cruel. And so I think that made me feel a little vulnerable, especially because some of the stories that I'm talking about are self-reflective and being honest about mistakes that I've made. And it's really hard to share with lots of people.
Yeah, it's, and I'm writing a book right now. And the best way to describe it, and I'm going to preface this by saying if you're not familiar with me, I say some inappropriate things sometimes, but it's kind of it's like taking a shit. Like if you're writing a memoir, and like
I would never.
Let me finish.
Okay.
Because
I love analogies, but I'm not.
Just let me get there.
Okay.
Because if you're writing a memoir and you are, I guess, remembering these things that have happened to you,
right?
And maybe memories that you forgot about, maybe memories that you repressed, and it's like you did your duty and you look like, holy shit, I don't remember eating all of that. I don't know how that got there.
Yeah.
It came from me. Obviously. That's what exists now, and now I have to show it to people.
I encourage you to get as much fiber as possible. I affirm you. For me, the process was more I mean, definitely stressful, but one that I'm really proud of, and I think, I don't know, I'm very much of the mind that the things that are the most difficult to do are often the ones that we should do. And that's the reason we have to push through. So you have a lot of shitting to do in order to finish your book. But yeah, I don't know. I've gotten a lot of people asking like what the process was like, and I find that I'm someone that doesn't deal well with stress, but tends to thrive in stress. Like when I don't have things going on, I'm like, what am I doing? I'm a loser. And Pat's like, just last week you were crying because you had so much stuff going on. It's when I don't have a lot of things to do, I feel, and I think one of the things I talk about in the book is social media adds to that, where you can see what everybody else is doing, and you're just like, look at her on a beach, look at her at brunch, oh, she booked this thing, and she's wearing these really cute shoes, and you just start seeing what everyone else is doing, and you have to kind of remind yourself that that's not reality, because how many pictures do we have to take to get like that perfect selfie, right? So it's all very curated, and so the book process can be really stressful, just thinking about what everybody else is doing. Like, oh, so-and-so's book is coming out, and oh, they're doing amazing. I'm trying to do less of that.
Yeah, and just for the record, I'm done with selfies because I don't feel like I have any good angles, and it takes me. It would always take me too many before I felt comfortable sharing it with the public. So.
I mean, practice makes perfect, I guess.
Yeah, but,
I mean, you could be one of those filter queens, the people who, like, every selfie, they're a puppy. You're like, no, you are not a puppy. You have never been a puppy. But in every single picture, you are one.
Okay, so your book. You start off by talking about the moment that you became internet famous. And this is, I'm sure many of you here have seen the shit white girls say to black girls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is the moment that, and you were working at a...
I was working at Ann Taylor as a graphic designer. I went to school for graphic design, that's what my degree is in. And I did a lot of work in fashion and beauty. I worked in the package department at Maybelline. My job was to squish all of the letters on the back of the package to put what the ingredients are. There is a system for that. I also made eyelashes longer. The mascara doesn't do that. I did that. And then I worked for Ann Taylor, and my job was to put together what the windows would look like, but then also teach all the stores how to make the windows the same. So we had like a fake store in the middle of the office, and then we would put the outfits together, and I would take pictures of them, and then I would have to cut them out in Photoshop, and I would have to say, if your window is this big, you only put these dresses. If your window is this big, you put this dress like this. And so while I was supposed to be doing that, I was also promoting my YouTube videos. And then Shit White Girls Say went viral. I posted it before I went to work, and then by lunchtime it had 1.5 million views. And I still had to finish the work day. So, I mean, nothing can prepare you for that. And you are somebody that writes all the time, and I've seen your articles come into my feed because everybody is sharing them, and it's exciting, but it's also really scary.
It can be, and just I guess provide even more context. So after you made your video, I was like, this is between your video and there was another video that was shit black girls say that was popular, but I didn't feel like it really did an accurate representation.
That was partly what inspired me. Is I was working in a predominantly white environment. I was the only black girl on my floor, And when Shit Black Girls Say went viral, my coworkers were like, this is what they be like, right? And I was like, what? You don't. I am the lone black girl in the office, and I do not sound like the black girl in that video. And it wasn't a criticism of the video. It just made me feel really uncomfortable because the people in my office were repeating it to me as if we were bonding over it. you know what I mean? Like, and that really inspired, and it really started getting me thinking, like, what, and I talk about this in the book, like, what would I actually say? Like, what would that video look like for me? And so again, it's not to knock it. I think one of the things that I was talking about at the Brooklyn event was that there are many different representations of blackness, and that there is space for Cardi B and Tiffany Haddish and Leslie Jones and me and Kerry Washington and Tracee Ellis Ross. I don't think that there is one right way to be. So I'm less concerned with somebody making Shit Black Girls Say and it not looking like me versus people deciding that I have to be like that video because that is the acceptable or the form of blackness that makes them comfortable.
And and that's what, and I guess that's what we all strive for, is to create, or at least people who create content, whether it's video, written content, podcasting, whatever, is to do something that that is honest, that reflects your reality and isn't a performance of blackness, a performance of wokeness. It's actually who you are.
I mean, I would like to think that that's what a lot of creators do, but unfortunately, I feel like the instant gratification of social media has prompted a lot of people to do this performance online, and it's interesting. I've been guilty of it too, where you're arguing with someone online and you're like, wait a second, I think you're a bot. Or those people who have like a stock image of a black person and they're like, this is what we bees like. And they're like, I hate all white people. And you're like, this is not a real black person. What is this? There are a lot of people doing that on the internet, or they're doing, something more nefarious where they are just presenting, Diamond and Silk, like what? Right? Where there are people that are performing this idea of blackness.
I'm not convinced that they're real people. Like, I'm still not convinced. Like, I don't know if they
so
have
many mixed
actual
feelings
social
about
security numbers. I would.
It's like I don't watch Westworld, but like, is that Westworld? Did you see their like testimony?
I saw screenshots of it.
Okay. I watched some of it just out of like pure curiosity, and I had those mixed feelings of like disappointment and anger because they only got like $1,200 for that. And I was like, you didn't even get like any money. Like, not $200 is not something to like scoff at, but these ladies were like tap fucking dancing. And it was just like, come on, like y'all didn't get like a suite or like a jet or like anything.
What, $1,200 each?
Was it worth it? No, $1,200 between the two of them. That was it. Like, really? Sorry. That's not in the book.
You have to know even tap dancing Negroes need to know the work. So you're this YouTube star. Your video's going viral.
Right.
And with it, I guess came this expectation that you are, I hate using this word unironically, but I'm going to anyway, to be woke.
It seems everybody's really burnt out on that word.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. I think before I answer your question, I will affirm that I get why people are burnt out on that word. I think it's because it feels like a definitive place rather than like a progression, like an ongoing Like, I was talking to my friend about it, and he was like, I think we should start saying, like, I'm kind of groggy. Like, sometimes I'm woke, and sometimes I'm like, what's going on? And someone has to, like, shake me a little bit. Woke feels like, I did it, I'm done, I'm here, I'm awake now. Like, you can't tell me anything, I'm woke. It's like, but it's not like that. Like, actually, like, you're gonna screw up, you need to, like, be awoken again, so... I get it.
And I also think though that part of the pushback is because, and some of us may be quick to give that label to people who don't necessarily deserve it.
Right.
And that clear, like, the super, like, bar so low you could trip over them.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they're woke or they're invited to this cookout. And
oh my God!
Stop inviting. Look, I don't know how many cookouts y'all been to, but the cookouts I've been to run out of meat. So if you keep inviting all these people to the cookout, we're not going to have enough meat for everybody. So please stop doing that.
Did you see the little boy that was like yodeling in Walmart and everybody was happy about him? And then someone was like, oh, y'all are going to hate him when you find out that he said the N-word or something. And then he tweeted, I would never say the N-word. And then everyone was like, my woke king. I was like, no! He's not woke now because he knows not to say the N-word. Like, what are we doing? Yeah, the bar is super low. Yeah, but in my instance, Shit White Girls Say went viral, and I had people projecting onto me that I suddenly was this all-knowing person, and I was not. And I went on Anderson Cooper as my very first national televised interview. I don't have regrets about it in the sense that it was an amazing experience. I'm proud of what I did without a manager or an agent or a publicist. I didn't have pre-interview questions. I had nothing. Like, I just went in like, okay, I guess I'm doing this. And there were just a lot of people that felt that I did not answer the questions in a way that they felt proud of. Like, I didn't use academic language. I didn't talk about privilege. I didn't talk about microaggressions. I'd never heard the word microaggressions before. I was just like, I'm on TV. Like, I was just so happy to be there, I think. And so, yeah, like, there were lots of people that I think were all looking for me to have, like, this ultimate smackdown moment. Like, there was a lady in the audience who was like, I think you're racist against me. And the edit didn't make me look very confident. And people were like, oh, Franchesca's so disappointing. Like, I don't see it for her. She's canceled. And I canceled. But I don't know. I think for me, like, that's why I use the term accidental activist, and I feel like a lot of us are in that space where people are projecting onto us, like, oh, you're the black person I know, explain this to me. Oh, you are the gay person I know, explain this to me. Like, oh, you are the person with a disability, explain this to me. Why can't I use this word? Or a black guy cut me off in traffic, why did he do it? And you're like, what? I don't know. It's not my job, I don't know that man. So we all are navigating these spaces where people are like demanding or asking us to do certain things, and either we are not equipped or we just don't have the time or want to invest the emotional labor. And for me, it was a combination of those things, but largely just I didn't know. And so I kind of had to do this like reevaluation and homework, because I felt like, okay, maybe this is something that I should be doing this work.
So you had to get one.
Yes, I had to come out of my sleepy stage. Okay. Yeah, I guess so.
And and I guess that's a perfect segue into, later in the book, you make a distinction between calling out and calling in.
Right.
And you want to explain that?
Yeah, I mean, I went through a period of my online presence, and maybe the time that you started following me on the internet, where like every day I was just like dragging motherfuckers like on Twitter. I was just like, I have time today because I have a job. All day long, all day. And I look back at that time, and it is genuinely embarrassing. And I remember working at Nightly Show, and after every episode, Larry would sit down with us and talk to us about how we did. It was really awesome. One time I was super stressed out. It was like during the election, and I was just like, everybody's coming for me. And Larry was like, you really give a lot of people on Twitter too much attention. And I had this moment of like, holy shit, my boss is following me on Twitter. And like, he is seeing me just like act a fool while I'm at work. Everyone's on Twitter at work, right? And so I started really thinking about how I was using my time and if it was actually accomplishing anything. And the idea of calling out is important because I don't have access to the marketing director of Pepsi when they make that stupid commercial with the Jenner sister or whatever. Right? I genuinely don't know her name. Like, that's not shade at all. Or like some celebrity screws up, right? Like, I can't call them, but when somebody in my family says something on Facebook that is really ignorant, I could make a public Facebook post about them, or I could like message them privately, or I could like take them out for coffee, or I could call them, or I could email them. And so the idea of calling in is about doing a little bit of extra homework and pulling somebody aside and saying like, I think that you can do better. And I don't know, I just tried to think about how often people have done that for me and how thankful I was versus how many times I've been called out, and even if I did end up learning from it, it just took me a little bit longer. And I sometimes I think it's productive, and a lot of times I just don't think it's productive.
So when would it be productive to call out somebody?
Again, I think the context of, do I have a relationship with this person, right? And also, do I have the emotional energy and time? Like, sometimes you genuinely don't.
Yeah, and I'll say this. Sometimes it's fun.
Oh, it's absolutely fun. Are you kidding me? I got a book deal. It's really fun. Like, I love gifts. And like Black Twitter, I will say, like, one of the most beautiful things is like how inventive Black Twitter is. You know what I mean? Like, that lady from the barbecue has become the best ever. Oh my gosh, wait, have you encountered any white people trying to ask you to explain it to them? It's so funny when people are like, how do I get to Black Twitter? Like, it's white. No, it doesn't work like that. Or like when Tyrone was trending on Twitter. And my friend, I have like a group chat with some friends, and we were all laughing about it, and our like one white girlfriend was like, I don't understand what's going on. And we were like, oh, there's so much backstory. But like, it had taken this life of its own, and it's fun, it's entertaining. But the thing that I always think about is, or I'm trying to think about more, is like, what happens when we get it wrong? What happens when we pick the wrong person, or we don't have all of the information? You can't unring that bell. And I think of after the Boston Marathon bombing, people were trying to figure out who did it, and they zeroed in on this guy, and he didn't do it. And they just like shared his picture everywhere, and like everybody was jumping on top of him and like finding his Facebook, and the guy's life online essentially was ruined. And sometimes I do worry, again, sometimes we do get it right, but also, you're a writer, I'm a writer, I see people giving away so much free material on Twitter that I'm like, you spent all day making memes, and you could have been making a writer's packet so you could get a job, or you would get paid to make memes. Somebody else just stole all of your jokes from Twitter and is now putting them on a late night show. You literally spent 8 hours of your day Photoshop. Like, when you see people doing like cool graphics and shit, I'm like, what do you do for a living? That you were able to do this all day? Like, I don't know if that's productive.
Yeah, some of the graphics with the barbecue one. What's his name? Barbecue Becky, is that her name? I'm like, yo, you need to be working with like Steven Spielberg. You need to be doing something other than this, because this is amazing.
Yeah, no, I think that all of the time, and I I did a Twitter thread about that, and it's not that I have the space to write another book right now, but that's something I am thinking about, is how we can turn, and I do talk about that in the book, like how your online presence can become a career. And unfortunately, like for people of color, I don't see us getting those same opportunities. Like literally you make a joke about white vans and Ellen gives you a check for 10 grand. It's like, that guy didn't do anything. Like, you know, Black people invent the mannequin challenge and we're making these cinematic Instagram videos. And I was like, why isn't that person getting a show? Like who is reaching out to that creator and saying like, I see talent in you?
Well, you know, you've worked in TV, you know, worked on a major network with a show. So what are some of those barriers that are keeping, you know, I guess the larger networks, corporations, or publications from hiring people of color?
I mean, there's definitely like a boys club, so to speak, for comedy writers. I don't know if y'all are familiar with UCB, which is the Upright Citizens Brigade. Amy Poehler started it with a few other people. They had a show on Comedy Central ages ago, and they are now like a comedy school. They have a location a few in New York and in LA, and it's really expensive, and it requires a lot of time. I think I took one class there, and it was $300, and each class was like 4 hours long, and you could only miss one, and if you missed one, then you like forfeited the class. And that is where like everybody from SNL comes from there. Lots of TV writers, and I always like watch movies and then I go on IMDb to like read the person's story, and like everybody comes from UCB. So I would go in meetings and they would be like, have you gone to UCB? And I was just like, I took one class. It was $300. You know, so if we don't have access to the spaces where, or I think Harvard has like a comedy paper that a lot of writers from SNL come from. But it's like, that means you have to go to Harvard to write for this paper, you know? And so I think for us, like, again, I can only speak as like a comedy perspective, like stand-up is a way that we can get our foot in the door, but that requires like you pounding the pavement. And for me, I quit doing stand-up because I like to go to bed. But that's why I think YouTube and social media are pretty powerful.
Yeah, and you know, and I guess a latent point that you brought up just now is there is a class barrier,
right?
Where these things are expensive, and also being a creative, you're not really going to make any money at first.
Yeah.
You might eventually, but it helps if you have, you know,
a safety net.
School, if you have a safety net. For me, you know, to be perfectly frank, Pittsburgh helped, and that I wasn't in DC, I wasn't in New York, I was in a city that is still cheap as fuck, and because of that, I was able to be a quote unquote starving artist for a few years while I built up BSB.
But I do think that that's why the internet is so awesome, because you don't have to move to New York anymore. You don't have to move to LA. You don't have to take comedy classes. You know, you can make stuff and you can put it on the internet. You can be Justin Simeon and make a fake trailer. That he did not anticipate that Dear White People was going to be a real thing. It was a fake trailer, and it went viral, and that's how he then got the opportunity to get funding to make a film and then sell a show. So, I mean, and look at Issa. If you look at the first season of Awkward Black Girl, like, no shade. She, like, filmed it on a potato. But, like, look at what it turned into, right? And so, like, good work is good work. Like, good writing is good writing. I mean, for me, what I'm really trying to do is find more ways to mentor, but also, like, just give people the basic foundation. Like I shared, like, here's what a writer's packet looks like. You know, you don't have to be in New York, but go to your local comedy club and meet some comics and say, like, I want to work with you. Go to your local theater, go to your local college, and go to the film school and say, hey, can I hold a light? Can I be in the pitch session? Can I do something to help? Because those are the people that in 5 years are going to need to staff someone for their Netflix show, are going to know, you know, they're going to get a small budget for a film and want to hire someone, or need someone to do costumes, or need someone to do makeup, or whatever it is. It's collaboration is really, really important. And I unfortunately think for a lot of marginalized folks, we get told there's only space for one, and so we're afraid to collaborate. We're afraid to help each other out. And people suddenly say like, well, no, I'm good. I'll do this on my own. It's like, no, a high tide raises all boats. Like, let's all work together.
No. I was waiting for you.
So if you have questions, you can come up here. Please limit to one question per person. People, please give people.
Oh, and if you post pictures, can you please use the hashtag for the book, WTEQ. This is the initials of the book. I'm going to go through and like and comment on all your pictures. So please post
She does.
them.
Yeah,
I really do. I have been known to slide up in many a DM. I really do. Did I do that to you? It's always so funny when people are like, I can't believe you're responding. And I'm like, yeah, hi. So do people have questions?
Hello. Hi. Thank you guys so much for coming. I've been following you guys for so long. So my question is, so I write. I'm a writer, but I haven't really had the courage to put that art out. So as creatives, somebody who's living their truths, do you have words of affirmation, words of caution, words of encouragement for anybody who wants to take that next step, putting their or bearing their soul out there or taking the shit?
That was a callback. That was great. I think that fear and anxiety is just natural. I think it's, for me, what has made me a good creator, because I try to be thoughtful. I really wear my heart on my sleeve, and I think we have to sometimes remember that things that we believe are inherently weaknesses are actually strengths. I think it's better to have a little nervousness about your work rather than to say, like, my work is amazing, I'm the best, everybody should love this. You know, and I think it's okay to lean into that. And I think it's okay to be honest. There's no reason you can't share your work and say, hey, I'm really nervous about sharing this, but put myself out there and I'm sharing it with you. I think you'll be surprised how many people will be appreciative of that because they're having the same feelings about their own work. And you don't have to start on like a global scale, you know. It can be as small as when I was doing stand-up, I was in a writer's group with some friends, and we would try to write 10 jokes a day. We were like, we could write 10 jokes a day, then at the end of the week we'll have 50 jokes, and then out of that, like 5 will be good. So like, get some friends together and say like, let's get together once a week and read some stuff that we've written. You know, stand up in front of each other or go to like an open mic and just read it in front of a room full of people. There's lots of different ways. You don't have to get on Twitter. You know, like there's lots of different scales where you can share your work.
Yeah, and that anxiety is natural. I'd almost even say that if you don't possess that, then maybe you might be like a sociopath or something. Because that
you know, you can be the president.
Put yourself out there. It is scary. I mean, it's still scary for me sometimes, and I still hate like 70% of the shit I write. Like a week after I write it, I can't even read it anymore because I'm wanting to edit it, I'm wanting to delete stuff. So that anxiety, I guess, doesn't necessarily leave, but you could use it. You could use it as fuel to make your work better. Yeah, to make your work better, to be more of a I guess not necessarily perfectionist, but more, I don't know, just conscious of what you're putting out there.
Not to name drop, but I'm totally going to name drop. I hosted the screening for Janelle Monáe's Dirty Computer, and she was so nervous. And I was like, you are nervous? She was like, I worked so hard on this, and like, I hope people like it. And I was like, you are in like 2 Oscar-nominated films. Like, what is happening? Why are you not? It was like mind-blowing to me, right? And it's like, I think everybody gets nervous. It's about what you do with that nervous energy and like pushing past it and not letting it keep you from doing what you need to do. It's totally okay to be nervous.
It just means that you care.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hi.
Yeah, hold my turn.
Hi, I'm Trelisa. I see you here. My question was like around when you were crafting the book, reflecting on those experiences you had, did it change the course of the content that you put out? Like, was there a moment that just like shifted maybe the book or how you saw what you were creating?
So true to form, I'm always doing more than one thing at a time. And I was actually working on my pilot at the same time as the book. And so for me, that was a big part of why I stepped back from the internet, because I was trying to temper how I was using the internet. I don't know if you remember, I quit Snapchat, and I felt like I was breaking up with a boyfriend. I was like, Snapchat, we gotta talk. I can't do this. I can't be on Snapchat every single day telling you all of my feelings. And then I talked about that in the book, so it did shape the book, because I said, I need to live in the moment more instead of trying to capture the moment through the internet. Like, even if it's from people that really care and care about me and support me, I felt like it wasn't fair to the people that care about me and support me in my real life. And I felt like it was keeping me from being as thoughtful about my work in real life. Because I was genuinely thinking. I was like thinking about what I was going to wear to work instead of like thinking about work. And I was like, I'm getting a chance to possibly live my dream, and I'm thinking about how to tell the internet that I have a dream, which is like a weird phrase. So yeah, it did change things, and I'm glad I pulled back. It's been really helpful for me.
Thank you. And I miss your nails now.
Oh, they're on Instagram now.
I'm super nervous standing for both of you, and husband, wherever he's at.
Oh, husband is here. Yeah, he's like in the back. Looks for like a low budget Leonardo DiCaprio. But did I lie though? He knows. He knows. Straight to Netflix, Leo. You did say it, Pat.
So I think both of you have already kind of hinted at this, but like it kind of blew me a little bit. You just changed my whole question when you said you don't like what you write a few weeks after you write. Like, what? Like, I read your stuff sometimes and I'm like, right? That's what I wanted to say in response to something. So it's like, I guess for both of you, I want to know, like, taking off in that fashion via the internet and not being necessarily ready for all of the stuff that comes with it. How do you stay grounded and genuine in what you believe, think, feel versus what you think people want to hear?
That's a great question.
So I'm going to be weird and take a picture.
Okay. I'm going to answer your question. I think the key for me has been creating a community of people that I can really trust, that are really honest with me. And I think especially, like, not that I am like some big celebrity, but now that I've met enough celebrities, you realize that there are a lot of hangers-on who will just tell them anything they want to hear. And you realize that when you like see somebody step out the house and something like wild, and you're like, who in your circle did you tell you that looks a mess? I remember one time, so my makeup artist Delina is like one of my closest friends. I remember I did this live show, and I had to run there from work, and I didn't have any wardrobe. I had to buy something from H&M. And I had this tight skirt on, and I didn't have a thong. I had regular underwear on, and I was on set. And Delina wasn't there, and I just asked some girl. I was like, "Hey, does this look okay? Can you see my underwear?" And she was like, "No, you're fine. You look great. You look great." Delina came over. She was like, "Take those underwear off." Yes, and I was like, "I can rock with you. Just tell me the truth." So build a circle. If somebody in your circle leads you astray, don't go to them anymore to ask. You need somebody who's going to check you. Even if it's going to hurt your feelings, you need somebody that you know. So then when you do get called out and you're questioning yourself, you're like, did I screw up? Then you can go to that person and they can be like, yeah, you did screw up. Otherwise, you're going to have a circle of people who are just always going to be like, you're wonderful, you're great, you're amazing, you're great. And then you're never going to know. And then when things get really bad, you're going to be really asked out. So I think also just be careful to not put too much pressure on those people to always be your gut check. You want to be there for them too. It should be, a relationship where it's a give and take. When they're there for you, to say thank you so much. Please let me know if there's anything I can do. Let me take you out to lunch, or I got your coffee this week. Yeah, because otherwise they're going to be like, oh, I only hear from her when she has a paper due. I only hear from her when she made a new video and she wants to know if she messed up. Don't be that person. But make a little circle that you can go to, and they can be your internal gut check.
Yeah, I mean, and just to reiterate your point, if you watch Atlanta, basically the last scene of the last. And I'm not even going to go in
Spoiler?
Spoiler for people who haven't seen a show that the last episode was a month ago, but I won't do that. But I will say that, the importance of having people who are around you who will tell you when your shit don't stink is very important. I mean, my friends, including some people who are here today that came out, support this, are people who remember me, who knew me back when I used to go to Whole Foods, not to shop, but for the free Saturday morning sample. And that would be my lunch, on Saturday morning. So, it's vital to keep people around you like that. And also, just to your question that you asked about me hating the things that I write, it's not necessarily that I feel like that they're bad. A couple weeks later, it's just that I reread them and I think about ways I could have made it better. I think about
everybody does that. I do the same thing.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Maybe everyone doesn't.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, everyone doesn't.
No, that is true. Yeah. No, that is true. I revised that. I think thoughtful, creative people who believe that their words and their work matters, and they are conscientious of what they put out there and how it affects people, those people do that. The other people, they don't do that. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mary Beth. I'm just getting my whole life with this event. I just dropped some nuggets of wisdom. Thank you, first and foremost, for sharing your life, your story, everything. So my question is for you. I love your stories.
Thank you.
Love being on Instagram. And I am just amazed by your work ethic. I just feel like you're just an inspiration of where I want to go. My work is not comedy. I'm not a creative. But your commitment to your craft is just so inspirational to me. And as someone who's I'm not waking up at 5 o'clock to work out.
Well, some of that is vanity, I'll be honest.
Well, I mean, still, it's discipline. I'm any words of advice for to push myself or to develop or strengthen my work ethic and drive and pursue the things that are important to me?
I think it's something that doesn't happen overnight. I am the ripe old age of 34. And so a lot of the things that I do that are like my process are things that I've done for a long time. Like I remember my senior year of high school, if you had really good grades, you could, the last semester of school, come to school like an hour later, and I bought a gym membership. And I was like, I'm going to the gym. Like that's something I just wanted to do. And so I was going to the gym just like, not at 5 o'clock in the morning, I was going at like 8 o'clock so that I could go before I went to school. And then I did the same thing when I got to college, right? And then I did the same thing when I got out of college. So for me, like that, my whole week is like thrown off if I don't work out. So you have to remember that if you want to make something a habit, you have to start small. So you want to wake up earlier, try waking up 10 minutes earlier. Like don't try to wake up like if someone tries to go on a diet and they're like, I'm throwing out my whole fridge, I'm going on a juice cleanse. Like right the next day, they're off it because you just tried to change up everything in a way that just did not feel natural. It's better, even if someone decides like, oh, I want to be vegetarian or I want to be vegan, I'm going to cut out this thing first. I'm going to start small. So if it's a writing project or the gym or I don't know, whatever it may be, like set little goals for yourself instead of that. You can have a big goal, but I like to start with the really small ones so that you can actually achieve those things. And then you can look back and you can say like, wow, I got up 30 minutes earlier every day this week. And now next week I'm going to get up 45 minutes earlier. And then the next week I'm going to push a little bit more. And then suddenly you're like, wow, now I get up at 6 a.m. and I get work done before I go to my day job. Yeah. You're welcome. I love that you're in a suit. I love that you were like, I don't know where you guys are going. But I'm going to see Franchesca. I love it.
I'm not gonna lie, I literally wore this suit today because I was gonna see you later.
That is the sweetest thing ever. Thank you.
In defense though, I made them. So.
Oh my gosh, amazing. Wow. Wow. You can take the mic now, don't you? Well, now you can sew a new one.
Franchesca, I actually am the only person who did discover you from the Shit White Girl Say.
Oh, wow.
I actually discovered you from a video collaboration you did with other YouTube stars who had locks.
Oh, wow.
Shit people say
yeah.
locks. I had locks back then too, and I actually watched your videos related to the styles, and that's when I started following your styling page.
Awesome.
On Twitter, I just basically read the drafts that you would do before morning coffee. But my question for you is, one time you were actually, so I was in a Twitter battle with, so in Damon's words, Tariq Ashid.
Oh my gosh.
And he was saying basically,
Don't look him up.
Yeah, no. But he was basically saying things like, hey, there's no one in the LGBT community who's speaking out for black people, and I had mentioned you. I didn't add you though because I didn't want things.
Such a weird thing. Oh, no, go ahead.
He is textbook loud and wrong.
So you responded to me privately away from him, and you told me that sometimes it's just better to literally like some battles just aren't worth fighting.
Wow. I do not remember doing that. Wow. I agree. I was right.
So my question is, and there was another time that I was following you where you said that you don't answer the trolls to answer the trolls, but you answer it to basically the common thing that people think in the misconceptions. You answer the trolls so people can see why they're incorrect. Or just to educate other people, not necessarily to fight her. So my question to you is, actually I went to the word misogyny from you.
Yeah.
But my question is, I watch your Decoded videos and get a lot of hate, especially from just like random internet trolls when people are negative, thumbs down in your videos, which I never understood, so I always like it.
Thank you.
How do you decide when it's appropriate to feed the troll and educate them for people who may be mistakenly thinking this? And how do you decide that it's just not worth it to go into the battle? And I'd like to get your thoughts.
It's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I used to feed the trolls a lot, and my process was like, I know this is not necessarily for you, this is for the audience, but I think my approach has changed in that I can still respond to those things without also giving that person a platform. I mean, I guess I can spoil this, it's okay, because it's part of the bigger chapter, but essentially I found a white supremacist message board that was keeping track of trolling me. And they were like, they had like a point system where they were like, they call them lol cows, which means that you can milk someone for laughs. And I found out that I was essentially just like providing endless entertainment for these people. And I was like, oh God, I gotta stop doing this. Like, even if it was educating people just by like sharing their Twitter handle, it was like promoting them. And then people would go look at their Twitter and, you know, they were getting their kikis off of it. So what I started doing more of is just putting that into my work. You know, like it was literally when I was deep into the book and I was like, I am giving away all this content and I just got a book deal. Like I should be putting this into my book. Or I should be doing this for Decoded, which is why we do like 6 myths about black hair. That's why we do myths about Black Lives Matter, or why do people get so angry about privilege? And then we say, like, you may have heard this. Or we do, like, are all Asians rich? You may have seen people say this. So I'm talking about things that trolls have said to me, but I'm doing it without saying, like, Stormtrooper 66 with, like, a frog avatar or whatever. Like, I'm not uplifting them. You know, and honestly, like, that's why I blocked Donald Trump on Twitter. I was just like, I can talk about why he is problematic or racist or just hateful without, like, sending people to his Twitter. And I think, to your point about that dude, like, there's a lot of people that troll for their paycheck. You know, a woman who I will not name made a parody of This Is America. And I just, like, just for context, this is a woman that when I called her out for being racist tried to get me fired from my job when I was working as a writer at Upworthy. So, like, people being mad at her is how she pays her bills. And so we fall for it every single time. People were dragging her for days, and I say this as someone that has done it. And we have to say, like, what is the purpose of what am I trying to get out of this? Am I trying to get retweets? Or am I trying to, like, educate people about why this was so harmful? And there's a way to do it without driving traffic to that person. Like, a click is a click, a view is a view. It doesn't matter if you didn't like it. Which is also why I don't pay these dudes dust, because y'all are paying my fucking bills. You don't like me, but you watch everything that I do.
Yeah, and those are all great points. And one thing that I will stress is that whether or not to respond, you're not obligated. Like, and I think that when people either on social media or they're creating content, sometimes they might have this compulsion to respond to all commentary, whether it's good, bad, trollish, whatever. And the first thing you should know is that the decision whether to respond or not is your decision. And, you know, as far as how to deal with trolls, you know, you could do some Jedi shit like Franchesca did and basically use, you know, talk about the issues that they, you know, maybe are challenging on or you know, ignorant about, and write a whole complete piece or do a whole complete video or do a whole complete podcast on that subject and not even mention them, and actually bring the traffic back to bring attention back to what you're doing, and that's something you can do. But there are times though where it might be more helpful, and it might actually even feel better to engage. Just like what Rihanna does this really well. Will she? People will say whatever they want, and then she'll just have like a one-liner like every 3 months, just to let people know that she can clap back if she needs to. And so I don't see the problem in that. But at the same time, I don't think that you have to do that either. But
can I tag on to the Rihanna thing for 1 second? Because I do agree with you. Like, I love a good clapback. And they're really funny. For me, have you ever seen those people on Twitter who are like, Rihanna, it's my birthday, if you just responded to me, like, it would make my whole world. And she's like responding to a troll. That's what I always think about. I always think about like the people that actually like and enjoy my work, and I'm wasting my time on people that don't like me and will never like me. And then I have somebody who's like, I watch every single Decoded, and like, you're the best. Or like, I can't wait for your book to come out. And I'm, even just like with one sentence, I'm wasting my time on somebody. So I don't know. I get it. It can be very cathartic. But I also think, I don't know. I think you just have to kind of decide like what your goal is. Like, what is the purpose of doing that thing? And if the purpose is to like get retweets and get that anger out, I think then go for it. But if it's not, then like you have to reframe it and do what's work best for you.
Yeah, it really depends on what you have time for. Basically.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Antoinette, and this is.
Hey guys, I'm Eris.
We're gonna duet it. My question is pretty light. I think you've covered emotional labor, teaching moments, when to walk away. So my question is more so, you have a list of people you want to meet, I'm sure, and in your journey, in your career, you'll meet more people. Who have you not met yet that you're dying to meet?
I don't know. It's funny because I've met a lot of people that ended up being really cool that I had no like aspiration to meet, and I kind of think that's the best way to do it, because I think that when you build somebody up, you're inevitably going to be disappointed. I kind of think that's like the tagline for Twitter. Like, you follow the person you loved and then you're disappointed. They always end up being like awful, and you're like, God, I really liked this person. So I don't know. I don't have anybody on my list that I'm like dying to meet. But I will see if I can think of someone who I met that was just like way cooler than I thought they would be. I don't know. Again, that's what I mean. I don't. My mom says, or I've heard the saying where it's like, if you have no expectations, you'll never be disappointed and you'll always be surprised. Like, I don't know. That's kind of how I go into it, because I have met a number of celebrities who just were like nasty, and I'm like, whoa, that was so weird. Like, I thought you were going to be really cool. But if I go in just like, oh, whatever, we'll see what happens, then they end up being really cool.
Yeah, the only person that I can think of is probably Jesus. And I want to wait about 40, 50 years before that meeting happens. But, so yeah, Jesus is on my list, and he's the only person on my list.
Sorry that wasn't a real, sorry that I didn't have a real answer.
That's the best
It was
answer I
like
can
version
give you.
number 5 of my question.
Okay.
So I was like, I'm gonna stay up here and do it anyway.
Okay.
Okay, hey guys. So quick question, kind of quick. Just to get like a quick background on me. I'm working at The Hill right now as a social media writer / No, that's just it. I guess I'm just like a writer / like social media curator at The Hill, and I've worked at, NBC ULK and Ebony and like a Breakfast Club and a lot of other like great places like as internships. But I feel like it's very hard to cross over from like writing into like video, and I know that you like Very Smart Brothers is a really dope blog, and also like you make really dope videos as a group, and you make great videos with Decoded. I'm wondering what you guys like look for. What's the criteria for like your writers, and like do people freelance for you, or does it have to be like a part of the company?
Wait, what is that you're asking?
Like, what do you
Looking
look forward
as a
to?
person that is interested in crossing over into like
To video?
writing for video, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like, what would you be looking for?
I think you would have a better answer for
Okay.
this because
Yeah.
the videos that I produce are just basically blog entries that I say out loud.
So the most clip notes version is I worked for Upworthy for almost 3 years, and I was working there actually when I was in negotiations for Decoded. So I think a lot of people don't know that I actually executive produced and host Decoded. I actually sold that show to MTV. I wasn't hired for that show, so. And a lot of the things I learned at Upworthy really helped us format the show. And so we kind of write backwards in the sense that when I started working at Upworthy, when you applied for a job there, you had to write 20 headlines for one piece of content. And that came from The Onion. Our founders used to work for The Onion, and they write 20 headlines for every piece of content.
Like social and SEO, like?
No, they say, okay, this is a story about a woman who finds her dog. So they're like, a woman finds a pet and it changes her life. A woman and her dog spend 10 minutes together and then it's really cute. So like the first 5, it's kind of like the joke thing that I was talking about. The first 5, you're like, okay, I can do this. And then you get to 10, you're like, oh, this is really hard. You get to 15, you're like, I hate everything. And then you get to 20, you're like, whoa. Oh my God, like I'm doing it. It's so, then you get like a perfect headline that's just like really clicky and like interesting and weird. And so I took that philosophy and we did it for Decoded. And so we would pitch titles first. So when I was writing everything by myself, I would write, "Are watermelon and chicken racist?" Like that's really clicky, right? Like, are they? Like people think that they are, or they think that they're not, or they want to know. So like questions are really good, lists are really good, like BuzzFeed. Everyone loves like 5 things and like the 6th thing that will blow your mind, like that type of stuff. So like finding ways to write that, like it's called a curiosity gap. It like pulls. Yeah, no, it's okay. The idea is that it pulls the audience in. Like when you scroll through your feed, you see something and you're like, what is that? It's like a close up of like an eyeball or something, you know, and you're like, what is that? I wanna see that. Or it like makes you really angry, or it like makes you feel good. So it's a very like emotion driven. So like when you're writing for the internet and for video, like you're kind of playing on people's sensibilities of like curiosity or their emotion. Like this is gonna piss you off, this is gonna make you cry, this is gonna teach you something. And so it's a different way of writing because you're kind of hiding the ball from the audience a little bit.
So do you like if someone's like a freelance writer, like that's pitching something to you, do they send it to like a question in like a script, or how is that?
I'm not hiring writers right now, but you could write a packet, you could do all sorts of things. But sorry, it was okay. How many more questions? Okay, great. Okay. Hi. Yeah, no, well, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so my name's Maria Shropshire, and I did watch the Diamond and Silk hearing, so I don't think it, like I work on the Hill, so that was absolutely terrible, and my coworker like called me in the office, we were like gushing about how ridiculous it was. But this is a question for maybe both of you. If you're the type of person who's worked their way into a career that they don't necessarily see themselves in long term, and they want to break into a more creative space, what would your advice be? Or maybe 1 or 2 things.
One thing that definitely helped me, because before I started writing full time, I worked in academia. I was a high school English teacher for a few years, and I worked at Duquesne University in Pittsburgh. I ran a college prep program there, and when the recession hit in 2009, we got our funding through like United Way and Eastwood Foundation, the Heinz Endowments, and all these other foundations. Those monies dried up, and we had to the program had to shut down basically, and that left me at a crossroads where I'm like, do I want to write full time, or do I want to continue on academia? And I'd already started BSB, and I guess what really helped drive me was desperation. Was knowing that, you know what, I don't have shit else to fall back on. So this needs to work. I need to get better at this. I need to work harder. I need to be prolific. I need this to work. And again, I don't know if that is an answer that will work for everybody, but for me, that's really what drove it. It's like, you know what, I want to do this for a living. I also enjoy going to brunch. And so I need to figure out a way to be successful at this so that I can continue to get all the bacon that I want.
I always had a regular job while I was making YouTube videos. And even while I was doing Decoded, I was at Upworthy, which was a remote job, but I basically have always had more than one job. And even when I was at Nightly Show, I was also doing Decoded. So I've always been the type of person that feels that it's not a bad thing to have a backup. It's not a bad thing to have a job that's not your passion. But if you actually really love something, I think you'll find time for it, even if it's not paying your bills. You know, it's like if you're going into a creative field thinking you're going to make lots of money, like it might take you might never make any money, right? Like, I don't know, painters have to die before anyone wants their paintings, but they still paint, right? Because they're like, I need to paint, like I need to make stuff. And so for me, like I was making stuff when no one was watching it, and I was like, this is cool, I still really like making this stuff. I was making videos for 6 years before Shit White Girls Say happened. But I was just making it because I liked it. Like, it wasn't paying any bills. It wasn't getting me auditions or agents or anything. So I think like if you have a creative passion, you find ways to make it work. Whether that's like getting up early on the weekends, not going out on Friday nights, only going out, like I only go out once or twice a month. Like I say no to a lot of people because I'm like, no, I really want to work on this project. No, I have to get my book done. No, I have to do this. So like you start compartmentalizing your time so you can work on your passion project and work on your day job, and then hopefully the passion project becomes so big that you're like, I can't keep the day job, I gotta do the passion project.
Hi. So my question's for both of you. I've been kind of creative off and on since uni, and what I find is that my highs are very high in terms of enthusiasm and just general mental health, and then I have like my super low where like everything I write is rubbish or something. And so in those really low points, I'm curious to how successful creatives kind of maneuver that. Do they kind of push, or do you rather push through the lows, or do you just say, this is okay, let me take a week or a month, or however long it takes before you write it?
One strategy, and again, this isn't something that may be applicable for everyone, but it has worked for me, is if I'm in a space like that, write about it. To create, so if I'm like in a creative lull, or if I'm in a space where I'm feeling a little bit more down or whatever, write about that feeling. Write about that lull. Write about, find content or find something in that space that you're in. And again, that's not something, I don't know if that's the best advice. But again, for me, that has worked because taking time off has never really worked for me. Like even when I've gone on cruises and I'll buy like the $15,000 an hour Wi-Fi that they have on cruises just so I can be connected and still write things. And so yeah, for me, the way that I've kind of pushed through those moments is to create something out of it. And sometimes it might take stepping back for a day to do that, but again, that's what's been helpful for me.
Therapy, it's been really great. I started going back to therapy this year, largely in preparation because I knew I was going to have a lot on my plate with the book and other projects and stuff, so that's been really great for me. But also, I do think you have to listen to your body. and it's really hard. Like I've taken vacations where I worked too. I took like a spa weekend before I started book stuff. And I was like, I'm not going to work. And then I tweeted something, and Patrick was like, Francesca's at a spa. Everyone shame her. And I was like, I wanted to tweet about the White House Correspondent Center. I'm sorry. So I do think that you have to build in that time off and make it a regular practice for yourself so that it's easier for you to give yourself that space when you're going through the tough times. Because when you're doing really great, you're like, yeah, I can work for like 3 weeks straight. No, you should also still take like a break. You should still take some time off. And I'm not perfect at it, but again, that was a big part of stepping away from the internet as much and trying to not necessarily go out more, but do more things that weren't work focused. Like, you know, when you're like at a hangout thing, but it's like a bunch of work people, and then you just talk about work the whole time. Like, do stuff where I'm not hanging out with people that have anything to do with my work. And so then that way, when you aren't feeling so great, like, you can still give yourself that time and you can like regenerate, because I sometimes feel like your body is telling you like, I need this time. So I don't think there's anything wrong with like leaning into it, but if you're finding that you're having that a lot and you're not like going to therapy, or you're not talking to somebody, or you're not doing meditation or deep breathing or working out or like whatever it is that works for you, like I encourage you to figure out what that is.